The wind was screaming outside, rattling the windows like it wanted to break in. The room was pitch dark, except for the faint glow of streetlights. Then I heard the whisper. It was soft, icy, and impossible to place. A wish was granted, a debt was made. What was left unfinished must be repaid. I know you must be wondering what kind of debt I'm talking about. I will elaborate it later in the story. It all started after my grandfather died. Ever since, my reality has been unraveling into the paranormal. Whatever he owed, the thing chasing me wouldn't stop, and I knew I can't beat this, and maybe this would be my last Halloween. It was Halloween night, though I wasn't trick-or-treating anyone. I'm 23 now, living alone, and Grandpa had been gone for 3 months. It was as if my grandfather's passing was the most unholy thing that have ever happened to me. I remember sitting on the living room carpet when I was 15, begging him to tell me a story. Grandpa never told scary stories, not even a single one. I didn't know why. I insisted so much that day that he finally gave in and agreed to tell me. Finally, he leaned back in his chair, eyes flickering like the candle between us. "All right," he said, voice low, trembling slightly, "but I warn you, this isn't the kind of story you forget." And then he began. "I was around your age, maybe 17 or 18. Grandpa started, his voice shifting like I could see him again, a shadow of the boy he once was. "We lived in a small town called Maple Hollow. Hardly anyone knew about it, forgotten by most maps, surrounded by dense woods where the wind always whispered. There were 5 of us, me, Danny, Tom, Richelle, and Peter, and we were obsessed with ghosts. We were young, foolish, and curious. The worst kind of combination. Back then, Maple Hollow had no shopping malls or movie theaters. The woods were our playground, and fear was our favorite game. Every Halloween, we would try to outdo each other. One year, we snuck into the old church basement. Another year, we spent the night near the cemetery by the edge of Willow Creek. But that year, 1975, was different. That was the year Peter found the book. It was a week before Halloween. Peter had recently moved into an old farmhouse on the east side of the town, the Ravenhill House. Locals whispered about it. Some said it was cursed. Others said its last owner has vanished one night. But we were kids. We didn't believe in curses, we believed in fun. Peter called us over after school, his eyes shining with excitement. "Guys, you won't believe what I found," he said. We followed him down into his basement, a place that smelled of dumped wood and old iron. There was dust everywhere, and cobwebs hung like torn curtains. In the far corner was a chest, locked, but the wood had rotten enough that he could pry it open. Inside were a few old photographs, a broken doll, and a book. It was small, bound in black leather, with strange symbols burnt into the cover, symbols none of us recognized. Danny laughed. "What, you found a Bible for demons?" Peter smiled and said, "Something like that." The first page had a title, written in faded ink, "The Whisperer's Gift." There were drawings, twisted shapes, markings like circles and stars, but the line that caught all our attention was this one. "On the night of the living dead, the eve of All Hallows, one may summon the Whisperer. He grants a single wish to those who call upon him with pure belief, in exchange for what they love the most." Rachel said, "Creepy, it's probably some made-up story," but I wasn't sure about it. There was something about that book. Something real. For the next few days, we couldn't stop thinking about it. We read it during lunch breaks at school, Maple Hollow High School, a brick building surrounded by pine trees that always seemed to whisper when the wind blew. The book had instructions. Draw a 5-pointed star using salt and chalk. Place a candle at each edge. Sit in silence until the wind changes direction, and then chant the calling phrase 3 times. We thought it was just a game, teenagers trying to impress each other. So on Halloween night, when everyone in town was out of trick-or-treating, we snuck into Peter's basement. His parents were away visiting relatives in Pittsburgh. It was the perfect place for a little ghost experiment. The air felt heavy that night. Outside, a storm was building, thunder in the distance. We lit 5 candles, one at each tip of the star. The flame flickered, stretching a long shadow across the dim walls. Danny opened the book and read the words slowly, half joking, half terrified. I trust you. I believe you. I trust you. I believe you. We need you. Come and fulfill our wish in this Halloween night. We said it together once, twice, and then the 3rd time. The lights went out, all at once. The wind hollowed through the cracks of the basement door. The candles went out, not blown, but snuffed, as if by invisible hands. The temperature dropped so suddenly that we could see our breath, and then we heard it, a voice, whispering. It wasn't loud, it didn't come from anywhere specific. It was everywhere. What is your wish? Danny stumbled back, eyes wide. Rachel started crying, Peter, stop this, please. But Peter, he was staring into the dark corner of the room. His lips trembled. I just want my dad to come back, he said. His father had died in a car accident the year before. The voice answered, You shall have what you ask for, but the price is what you love the most. Then silence. No wind, no whisper, just the sound of our hearts pounding. We thought it was over, until Peter screamed. Something grabbed him. We saw marks appear in his chest, 4 long bleeding scratches, as if invisible claws were carving into him. He fell to the door, shaking, grasping for air. Rachel ran up the stairs, Tom followed. Danny and I were frozen. Then the candles lit up again, all 5 at once. But the flames were back. The air stunk like burnt metal, and in that light we saw it, a figure standing behind Peter, tall, shadow-like, its face shifting like smoke, but with eyes that glowed faintly red. It leaned over him and whispered something we couldn't hear. And then the sound stopped. Peter's body went still. When the lights flickered back to normal, he was lying there, pale, cold. The scratches across his chest were deep, bleeding into floorboards. We ran. We didn't even think. We just ran out of the room, barefoot, screaming. By the time the police arrived, the basement was empty. No candles, no book, and Peter was gone. Grandpa paused there. His hands trembled slightly as he took a sip of tea. I never told anyone that part, he said quietly. They said Peter's family moved away. That's what everyone believed. But the truth is, we never saw him again. He unbuttoned the top of his shirt again and pointed to the scars on his chest. 2 days later, this showed up out of nowhere. I woke up screaming and they were bleeding, just like Peter's. The doctor couldn't explain it. Nobody could. He looked straight into my eyes and said, Don't ever call to what you don't understand. Because once something answers, it never really leaves us. Grandpa never spoke of that night again. After he finished the story, he blew out the candle, smiled weakly and said, That's enough ghost for one lifetime. I could still see his hands trembling. Even after all those years, His voice cracked when he said Peter's name. At that time, I thought maybe he was exaggerating, an old man's way of making Halloween more dramatic. But the way he looked at the candle, the way his eyes stayed fixed on that flame, like he was seeing something inside it that never left me. Now it's been 5 years since that night. I'm 23 now, and 3 months since Grandpa's gone. He died on a quiet morning in July. The doctor said it was his heart, but when we found him, there were marks on his chest again. 4 fresh scratches, the same as before. We buried him at Maple Hollow Cemetery, the same town, still small, still surrounded by those whispering woods. And as Halloween comes closer again, I can't shake the feeling that something is wrong. For the past week, I have been hearing things, not voices exactly, more like whispers in the corners of rooms. Something, I think I hear my name when no one's home. I told myself it's stress or maybe missing him too much, but 2 nights ago I found something in his old chest, the one he kept locked at the end of his bed. Inside was a photograph. It was old, faded. 5 teenagers smiling at the camera. Grandpa, Danny, Rachel, Tom and Peter. Behind them, curved faintly into the dirt, was the same 5-pointed star. But that wasn't what froze me. It was what was written on the back. In the same shaky handwriting I recognized from Grandpa's letters, the depth remains. Last night, I woke up at 2:17 a.m. The wind was howling outside, the kind of rattles windows and makes tree branches scrap the walls. And I swear, for a second, I heard it. That same voice Grandpa described. A whisper, cold and clear. What is your wish? I sat up, heart pounding. The air felt heavy, like something was standing right next to me. Then I heard a soft tap, tap, tap on my window. When I pulled back the curtain, there was nothing there. Just the woods behind our house, dark and endless. But on the glass, there were 4 long scratches. I haven't told anyone about this. Mom thinks I'm just missing Grandpa, and maybe I am. But something, when I look in the mirror, I think I see something behind me. A shadow that disappears when I turn. And every night since then, the same whisper returns, faint at first, like the wind, then clearer, closer. A wish was granted. A debt was made. What was left unfinished must be repaid. Halloween is tomorrow. The air already feels colder. I don't know if I am imagining it, but I have been dreaming of Peter, the boy from Grandpa's story, in my dreams. He's standing in the same basement, surrounded by candles. But now he is facing me, and behind him, something moves in the dark. Sometimes I think Grandpa didn't just tell me the story to warn me. Maybe he was preparing me. Because if what he said was true, that once you call something, it never really leaves us, then maybe this Halloween, it's not my grandpa the spirit's coming for. Maybe it's me.